Hello and welcome back to the Dash 2 podcast. I am your host, Logan. Welcome back. It's been a bit. I got my pod before the playoffs and then, never came back. A lot of stuff going on. New place. Whole other, we'll get into it. That'll be later in. First off, yeah, I did predict the playoffs correctly. Got the final, got the winner, got the amount of games in the Stanley Cup final. The day before the playoffs started, it's alright. Not a big deal. I don't want to say I'm the smartest dude to ever do a podcast, but I just might be. Let's get into what we've missed. We're going to kind of bounce around the playoffs. I mean, obviously there's a lot to talk about, but we're just going to go over the highlights. First of all, from the first rounds, I would want to say the Boston-Toronto, Boston almost shitting a 3-1 lead again in the first round to the Maple Leafs of all teams. I would rather commit suicide than ever watch that happen. The day that the Leafs beat the Bruins in the first round is the day that I no longer want to live on this earth because I don't know if it's worth it. The pain and suffering of the Toronto Maple Leafs franchise is what brings me happiness. Every day, I wake up, and then seeing that Mitch Marner is still on the team makes me happy. Knowing that a Leafs fan's going to sleep tonight and thinking about next season with a whole bunch of hope, thinking William Nylander, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Morgan Riley, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Max Domi, Timothy Liljegren, I don't know. Joseph Wall, all these guys are going to bring greatness back to that city. It's never going to happen. 1968 will be the last Stanley Cup you ever lift. And that's a guarantee from the bottom of my heart. But Boston beats them only to get absolutely dumped on by the Florida Panthers, who seem to dump on everybody. They made the Rangers look like kids. They made the Bruins look like kids. They made the Lightning look like kids. They made the Lightning look so bad they gave up on fucking Steven Stamkos. Okay? They were like, we're going to have to go in a new direction as a franchise, I think. We'll switch over to the Western Conference now. Dallas, Vegas, opening round, barn burners. That was a great series. I think Mark Stone might have actually been injured. I know, coming back from injury for the first round has kind of been Vegas' MO. But judging by the way he played in that first round, he definitely looked like he was injured. He was very slow. But he scored the first goal in the series and also scored Game 7. So, if they did make it out of it, that would have been an incredible story. Winnipeg completely fell apart against Colorado. They fell apart almost like Valeri Nichushkin's life, just in shambles, really. Connor Hellebuyck just disappeared from existence. He won the Vezina, as we'll get to later on in this podcast, pretty convincingly. He's a great goalie, regular season goalie. I'll throw in there. But after that big game 1 where they absolutely fucked the Avs, I think it was like 7-2 maybe, something crazy like that. Hellebuyck turned into a pumpkin at midnight and disappeared, which resulted in, the gentleman's sweep, which shocked me because I had Winnipeg in 7. I didn't think that Colorado was going to be able to do it, and they surprised me. Edmonton, LA. Well, when you beat a team, 2 out of the last 3 years, that's to be expected. Vancouver, Nashville was more exciting than we thought it would be. The goalie matchup was definitely something that I didn't expect to see. What's his face? Fucking holy shit! I forgot the Canucks goalie. Played for BC. Really. I'm gonna forget this. And I'm supposed to be Thatcher Demko. Jesus Christ! I know what college he plays for. All right, leave me the fuck alone. Thatcher Demko injured, came back. Might have rushed it back from injury to get into playoff shape and then injured himself again in the first round. Didn't stop Vancouver from going to 7 with Edmonton. That was a very exciting series. I think PD's got some growing up to do. The $10 million price tag is clearly a little much for him at this point. and the playoffs are a different beast. I know they've only been there once, so he's definitely going to have to adjust his play and kind of figure out how to play. When things get a little bit tighter, he's got a little Mitch Marner disorder, but I think he's young enough and smart enough and good enough as a player to kind of overcome it. Unlike Mitchy Mitch, Dallas, Colorado, Val, my guy. Player assistance like 3 times in the last 2 years, twice in 1 year. Now you're going to go on leave, forced leave for 6 months. It's tough. It's tough out here. Definitely fuck the Avs because they were looking good until Val got injured, and then there's like, well, who else do we have really? It's a little rough. I think if Colorado's at full health, they probably beat them. Shout out Andrew Cogliano, RIP. Congrats on the career. Edmonton, Dallas, didn't expect Edmonton to win it so convincingly. McDaddy kind of went dummy on them. I mean, Draisaitl too in the first 3 rounds was also an animal. So Edmonton, Panthers. I don't really know what to say. I mean, if you watched it, you know how it was. Panthers convincingly beat the shit out of the Oilers. Game 4 in Edmonton, something in the water. I don't know. It changed. Florida didn't look as like they didn't believe in themselves as much. It was weird. It was like their spirit was broken. Like the heart of the team just changed. Everything shifted over to the Oilers. I mean, Draisaitl was a ghost this whole series, unfortunately, which I think if we redo this series and Draisaitl isn't as injured, they probably take home the cup, I would say. At least they win one of the first 3 games, and then who knows. It was rough for a lot of that series, just watching the teams just completely lose hope. Edmonton in the first 3 was abysmal, and then Florida in the last 3 was awful. Sergei, I don't know what he did in that Game 7, went into Russian meditation mode, locked himself in a cabin in the woods. In this case, it would be his sauna in his $1 million house in Florida, locked himself away, locked in, came in, put up a great performance. That save on McDavid, I want to say 5 minutes left in the third, where McDavid's directly in front of the net and Bob just like throws an arm out, stops the puck, and then dives over to stop a rebound, is going to be in a cup highlight package for years to come. That was insane. I want to shout out Chris Knobloch for just refusing to play anybody but Edmonton's finest, which is just Nuge, McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard. I think I saw Broberg out of there. Oh, Ekholm is the guy who played the most. But yeah, those 5 pretty much played the last 10 minutes. And I think you started to see the damage that was being done around the 3-minute mark. Like, their breakouts got sloppy, their zone entries got sloppy. I mean, McDavid was falling down. And Edmonton fans want to say, the ice conditions in Florida aren't great. I think it might have been the fact that McDavid played the entirety of the third period. When you see McDavid like buzzing around the ice like you usually do, you're like, oh shit, he's like never gonna give up the puck. He was so exhausted that I like saw him blow an edge, which I've never seen in my life. I think if Knobloch gets a do-over, he probably throws that third line out there a little bit more. Henrique, Connor Brown, and Jesus Christ, I keep forgetting names. Matthias Janmark, that's that guy. Early in that Game 7, he looked about as good as McDavid did. It was insane. He was all over the ice. He was cooking. He scored a breakaway goal. He really was playing out of his mind. And then, things get tight. You shorten the bench a bit. I don't think that was the correct move. I think they should have continued rolling the lines. I think with Draisaitl being as injured as he was, it probably wasn't smart to just leave him out there because, if players get tired, they get frustrated, and he was showing a lot of frustration in that final 10. I think he could have used, like a 3-minute break so he could get back on the ice for the final 2 minutes. They got a lot of zone time in that final 2. It's just when Florida cleared the puck, there was no way, they didn't have enough energy to enter the zone again. Obviously, Florida just suffocates you when the games get tight. So we saw that in the third. They just kind of shut it down from there. Good team defense all around. that third period was super boring. Like, nothing happened. It was just Florida icing, Edmonton zone time with no chances because everything was getting stuffed. Shout out Sam Reinhart, game-winning goal in the Stanley Cup Finals. It's pretty big time. And then signed a ridiculously fat deal, 8x9. So good for you. But let's talk about the Cup celebrations. First off, ESPN is so bad at broadcasting, it's not even funny. Leah Hextall single-handedly ruins every broadcast she's ever been on. I've never enjoyed anything she does. I've always found it to be nails on a chalkboard, to say the least. And especially in the Stanley Cup Final, like, I don't want to have to be talking about the broadcast. The game should just speak for itself. I mean, Mark Messier's and nothing in the studio. PK's super boring. And then Steve Levy, no thanks. Even Ray Ferraro between the benches. I feel like with any other crew, it would be something. But he's very boring. And then Sean McDonough, if you're calling a Stanley Cup game and you go, oh, and the Florida Panthers score, like, that's all the emotion you're gonna. Like, I grew up with fucking Doc Emmer, dude. Like, I'm gonna need something. I'll be like, oh, waffle poured it away. Like, I need maximum energy. I want you to sound like you're losing your voice. I want you to sound like you're a homer. For an away goal, a home goal, doesn't matter. I want you to sound like you just won the Stanley Cup. And that guy's a fucking nothing. He is so boring. He gives zero emotion. It ruins the entire game for me. It takes me completely out of it. But they also are like probably the only network that would have a captain lift the Stanley Cup and then cut away from it. Like, we didn't even get to see the first cup lift from Barkov. They just cut away. I don't know how you do that. Like, that's kind of the whole thing in hockey is seeing, like, you know, you think of Chara lifting up the cup and, like, violently shaking it. All these guys, like Jonathan Taves, Sidney Crosby, fucking, who's the captain? Mark Stone, fucking Nate Dogg, even though he wasn't captain, Landeskog. Like, these guys, everybody got. Alex Pietrangelo, the first year that they started doing the fucking fireworks behind him, that shit was sick. It's like, it's a moment now. Like, I want to see the captain lift the cup for the first time. ESPN completely fumbled it. And also, like, let's talk about the players. What the fuck happened? Like, you used to get the cup, skate around the ice with the cup, and show it to the fans. Like, really, really take a lap and soak it all in. Kyle Okposo had it for maybe 30 seconds. Like, you just played your entire career. You get traded to this team at the trade deadline. Barely play in spots. Have probably the greatest games. Like, Kyle Okposo was all over the ice. He looked fantastic on that Game 7. Like, to the point where he stood out. And I thought he was the Panthers' best player for 2 periods. Like, it was impressive. His forecheck was ridiculous. He was all over the puck. Getting scoring chances, which nobody really expects him to do. It was awesome. But he wins the Stanley Cup. And he goes like 10 feet, and then he just comes back and he hands it off to the next guy. And also, like, how is Dmitry Kulikov getting the Stanley Cup before Matthew Tkachuk? Like, I don't understand. Like, the order needs to be better, and I need a full skate. Like, I want Kyle Okposo going all the way. I don't know if they put too much shit on the ice now. Like, thinking back to when Vegas was in the Stanley Cup final with Washington. When Washington won, like, they were going all the way around the ice, like a full, true skate. That's what I want to see. I want to feel like I'm there. I want to be a part of the moment. I want to be a fan of that team just for those minutes because it's so fun watching people lift the Stanley Cup. So, let's put a little more thought and think about our order and then go minimum, like, 1 minute skate with the cup. Like, Tkachuk probably had the longest skate. Obviously, Barkov did. He went the full length of the ice, as you should, as your captain. But the rest of it was pretty rushed. Wasn't a big fan. Ducks and Kings have rebranded. So we got, the 90s logos are back. We got the Chevy logo from the Kings. The white jersey is beautiful. The home jersey is beautiful. The overall logo is pretty good. I just wish they went back to the purple and the gold. you share a building with the Lakers. It's a Lakers town, anyways. You came into the league 1968. You were, you had that forum blue, as they like to call that purple, and the gold. It was nice. It was a great look. Nobody else in the league has any purple in their branding. It's a perfect time for you to do it. And they fumbled it. And they stuck with the black and the white. The black and the white's great. It's good for casual fans. You're like, oh, fuck, I want to buy a hockey jersey. Let's go with the black and white one. It goes with everything. They're going with the Raiders approach, which in the 90s, like NWA and all that stuff, like it really came into style. So then they started wearing Kings hats because they rebranded the black and the silver. So they became like a cultural icon just for that. But I think at this point, like, it's probably a good idea to just go back to the purple because the black and the white is so boring. Especially with the old logo that they had, like the fucking square with the triangle at the bottom. Super boring and did nothing for me. I mean, obviously the Chevy logo is a fan favorite. Everybody loves it. But purple and gold's the way to go. I don't think the black, white, and the silver is really the move. Speaking of colors not being the move, the Ducks, I like their home jersey and I like the away jersey. I just think that the orange pants they really kill it. The color, and they have the orange socks. So on the home jersey, we got orange jersey, black at the bottom, orange pants. The top of the socks are orange, and then it goes black, and then that like ugly gold color that they have. So like, just a lot of bright color going on there. Not a big fan. I don't think anybody likes the full look. I think a lot of people are just basic with jersey pants. Like it should just be the jersey that breaks it up the most. Black is probably the move. Same with the away. Like, they might as well. I would have preferred if they just went all white than throw in the orange pants. It would have been, like a better look, in my opinion. I do like the all white look. I know a lot of people don't. Throw in some white gloves in there with a little orange accent. I mean, it works for Vegas. Vegas has the white gloves. I like those. But, I don't know. The white pants, I guess, are a hard sell. The orange is fine on the away. I'm just hoping that they get like an alternate jersey where, I don't know, I don't know if we need more black jerseys. I think we should just go to like, they should have a permanent throwback as their third jersey and just mix it in. Everybody likes the purple and teal. It's a classic. Again, they should have gone back to it. Nobody in this league has purple in their jerseys. Not a single team has purple. Even Utah chose to rebrand to that blue and no purple in the jersey. I think that that's a huge missed opportunity. Who the fuck... The whole league doesn't have purple. I mean, we got 1 million red, white, and blue jerseys. 2 black and yellow teams, which we definitely don't need. Fuck you, Pittsburgh. You should have stayed with the baby blue. And, yeah, I mean, just diversity in branding is preferred. Like, look at the NBA. The NBA's got all kinds of different shit. Everybody's got a different feel. And everybody likes that. I mean, they sell a shit ton of jerseys. You can see behind me. I got a fucking Bronick. I got a Pasta. I got a Kobe. Rebranded Kobe, even though it's the old alternate. Fucking Danny Heatley jersey. Ottawa jersey. I mean, like, I'll fucking buy anything. I don't give a fuck. So just give me more. I want purple back. Please give me purple. NHL awards, that they routinely have the worst award show year in, year out. Not once have I ever come away and been like, damn, they really did a good job. They always have some shitty hosts with some shitty jokes. At least it wasn't Cuba Gooding Jr. I think he got canceled from doing too much blow. But, hey, they're trying. They're trying. They made fun of Kucherov, who just, like, transatlantic flight from Russia to Vegas. And then they made fun of his accent, and he looked like he was going to have that guy's whole family executed in classic Russian fashion. But he didn't, which is important. And then he didn't win the MVP either. So it was a complete wasted trip, and he got bullied. But it's a bad thing. I think we don't need an award show. Nobody cares. NBA doesn't do an award show, and they're way, way more popular than hockey is. So if we can just do like award ceremonies with the individual teams instead, I would prefer it. I think the players would prefer it as well. Mark Messier Leadership Award is Jacob Trouba. I think he won that for all his like off ice, in the community shit. Too bad that they're still going to trade you anyways, and if you don't want to be traded, then you're just going to get waived, and then somebody's going to claim you, which they've already done once, so it's kind of crazy how there's, like, no loyalty to a captain. Like, they gave him an 8-year deal and then they gave him the C, and then now they're like going to be like, hey man, you gotta go, stop murdering people, enjoy Detroit. So a little fucked up, but hey, good on you, Mark Messier Leadership Award. Bill Masterton, which is the comeback award, is Connor Ingram. Connor Ingram, injured bum for most of his career, and then comes back this year and plays fucking lights out for the Coyotes. So good on you. And he's a good follow on Twitter. He's got a lot of funny tweets. Even when he said, like, he had the Masterton Trophy, and he said that he wanted to take a picture with it to one of the photographers, and they were like, well, we should probably wait for the guy who actually won it, even though, you know, it was him. So that was pretty funny. Selke, unsurprisingly, with Bergeron out of the league, I think by default Barkov is like the next in line to win it for the next 6 years. So Barkov bagged that. Jack Adams Award, Rick Tocchet, pretty self-explanatory. Vancouver fucking cooked this year. After seasons of disappointment, they hire Talk. He comes in, he cleans it up, and then they get back to the playoffs while winning the Pacific Division. The King Clancy is also a leadership award. Anders Lee won that. Nobody cares about the Islanders, and I don't care about this award. The Lady Bing is, you know, the nicest guy in the NHL. Matthews, Pedersen, and Jacob Slavin. And Slavin won, which is a snooze fest. No one cares. I don't like Carolina, and neither should you. General Manager of the Year, Jim Nill of the Dallas Stars. I think it's pretty obvious with that team and the assets that they've accrued while still being good. Finding prospects in late rounds. He's done a wonderful job. Well-deserved award. Calder, Connor Bedard. I think we all knew that was going to be the pick from the beginning of the season. I do think that Brock Faber probably should have won. You know, carrying 25 minutes a night as a rookie, doing the big boy minutes on the big boy matchups, shutting down top lines, basically, while putting up points. He had like 45 points as a defenseman while doing 25 minutes a night with, you know, Spurgeon out and Scandella, I think, out as well. Like, the Wild had a rough season. Faber was a bright spot. And for him not to win the Calder with Bedard missing games, too, is a little crazy to me. Obviously, the NHL is going to pick the new Golden Boy to win. I'm not surprised. They do it all the time. But I am a little disappointed. The Hart and the Ted Lindsay goes to Nathan McKinnon. Finally, he has some trophies. He was robbed by Taylor Hall in 2019. He had a much better season that year. It's just Halsey carried the shitty Devils to the playoffs where they immediately shit on themselves and threw up on themselves. So, glad to see that Nate Dogg finally got the award that he deserves. Quinn Hughes won the Norris. Again, I think the candidates were Quinn Hughes, Roman Josi, Cale Makar. I don't think any of those guys are outstanding defensively. I think they're really good at putting up points and carrying the offensive load. Just split up the award. Just Norris, offensive, or no, create the Bobby Orr Award, give offensive defenseman the Bobby Orr Award, and then give an actual defensive defenseman or, you know, best overall defenseman the Norris Award. Like, I would say Adam Fox, like Charlie McAvoy, these dudes that actually play both sides of the puck, maybe even a Mo Sider. Like, I want a dude who's good defensively and can put up a decent amount of points, like 40 points minimum. That's more what I'm thinking when I think best defenseman, not whoever can shove the most pucks in the net. Vezina, Hellebuck, we talked about it earlier. Great regular season, shits the bed in the playoffs. I think we're going to need to see something out of him in these next couple of years so he can shake it. It's definitely a rough look. And that's all. That's all we got for awards. There's like smaller awards, but nobody really cares about them. So we're just not going to talk about it. And I would like to say we can just shut it down. Maybe a press release on the NHL website. No more award show. Nobody really cares. I know I personally don't care. I stopped watching it pretty recently. Like, I'll watch clips of it afterwards, but I won't watch the whole thing because it's just such a snooze fest. Hockey Hall of Fame 2024. We get a fucking loaded class. My guy, Jeremy Roenick. Double guy. Met him. Great guy. Got a picture with him. Had a conversation with me. Asked him about Chelios' retirement. And he was very sad that his number won't get retired. So hopefully, you know, I'll be campaigning for you one day. We're going to get your jersey retired in Chicago, I promise. But Jeremy Roenick, Pavel Datsyuk, Shea Weber, NHL legends going into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Natalie Darwitz and Chrissy Wendell-Pohl. Those two played at Minnesota together for a lot of their career and then played on the U.S. national team and won a shit ton of medals in the Women's World Championships and Olympics. So good for them. David Poile and Colin Campbell. Colin Campbell is a league executive, and then David Poile is the longtime GM of the Nashville Predators. He was there when they were inaugurated, and he retired last year, handed it over to Barry Trotz, and now Barry Trotz is doing wonders for that team. So Poile is kind of like the mastermind of hockey working in Nashville. So shout out to you. You definitely deserve to go into the Hall of Fame. But let's get into the nitty-gritty on the big dogs from this class. Jeremy Roenick, just an overall legend in the game, one of the best personalities we've ever had. We have that one interview from the 90s, the Stanley Cup Finals, or was it Western Conference Finals? Yeah, Western Conference Finals, with JR saying that Waugh must have been looking in the rafters for his jock. And then Patty Waugh says, I couldn't hear him because I got my Stanley Cup ring in my ear. Just, that's peak for like 90s NHL players with personalities. Didn't really happen much. JR's the original cheat code in video games, 1994, NHL 94. Jeremy Roenick was literally the second coming of Christ in that game, by all accounts. So I wasn't alive for that, but it's all I've heard my entire life is that 94 JR is just the greatest video game player of all time. So shout out on that. He was the third U.S.-born player to reach 500 goals. He was the original number 97. 27 in Chicago, played there, made it to the Stanley Cup Finals once, was a great player there, was promised that he would never be traded, and then got traded immediately. So that was pretty fucked up. But he was in the desert with Walt Tkachuk and held it down there, the original 97. Then he went to the Flyers to chase a cup, made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Didn't work out. Then he went to the Kings, number 97 there as well. That's the famous video of him dancing on the ice, which was sick. And then he was a role player in San Jose where he scored his 500th goal. So, hell of a career. If you ever get a chance, if you can, read his book. He tells this one story. Like, there's one story about Darcy Tucker breaking his jaw, and then he comes back to... His jaw is completely shattered. He can't even talk. And he gets off the ice, gets it semi-fixed, throws on a full cage, goes back out on the ice, and then plays the rest of the game, which is fucking crazy. And then there's another story about him shitting himself on the ice, where he got hit and then shit himself, and then went to the locker room and cleaned up, and then had to wear his poopy gear for the rest of the game. And that's an all-timer for me. That's what makes Jeremy Roenick Jeremy Roenick. That's why he's one of my favorite players all time. Shea Weber, Weber bomb, as Ryan Whitney would say. Kind of a sad NHL career. Never won a Norris. He was like right in that second-class defenseman tier where he wasn't good enough to win, but was always in the conversation. So good on him. One of the best defensemen of his generation. One of the hardest slap shots ever. He could never break Char's record, but he was always like right there on the All-Star Game challenges. It was like 106.8 and 107.1. He could never break Char's record, but one of the hardest shots ever. I'm pretty sure he put a fucking hole in the Predators practice rink at one point. So, I mean, if that doesn't say it, I don't know what does. He's no Johnny Boychuk, though. Johnny Boychuk claims, 125 mile per hour slap shot at one point in his life. Debatable. But Shea Weber shoots hard as fuck. Won the Messier Leadership Award in 2016. 4-time All-Star. Captain, 2 different franchise. Obviously, captain of the Canadiens. Led them on that crazy run to the finals and then got too injured to ever play again. So now he's in LTIR land in Utah until his contract runs out. But legend for the Preds. Probably the greatest player they've ever had play for them. 2-time gold medal winner, 2010, 2014. And, I mean, those Canada teams were loaded. So, and he wore a letter in 2014. So that kind of says everything about his leadership his presence in the room. I mean, obviously in Montreal, he was a captain there and led them to a Stanley Cup final against all odds in that bubble. Or was it a bubble? It was like bubble adjacent. There was like some fans allowed in the arena, but yeah. That was a weird playoff year, and that was when, Canada was the whole Western Conference. Nothing made sense that year. I just try and forget about COVID as much as I possibly can. Gives me PTSD, being stuck inside, being sad. Not really being sad, but just like not having anything to do. Anyways, let's get to the main event here. Pavel Datsyuk, the Magic Man himself. Just Datsyuk and Dangles, the drag shot with the chip afterwards, the nastiest hands to ever grace the NHL. The clip of Logan Couture like eating shit and dying in the corner from Datsyuk dangling him. The reverse hit on Shea Weber and knocking him down. Winning Stanley Cups, winning Selkies, winning medals with the Russian Olympic team. Somehow he was just a one-time All-Star. Not really sure how. Gets drafted in 2001, or not even, gets drafted in 98, comes over in 2001 from Russia, and then is one of the most dominating two-way centers from fucking 2001 all the way to 2015. Then he went back to Russia and then won a bunch of trophies in fucking Russia. Because this guy's a winner. He probably could have stayed in the NHL for a little bit longer. I mean, right now he's, 45? And I'm pretty sure he retired 2 years ago. So he could have been 43, still in the NHL. I'm sure somebody would have paid him because he was a fucking maniac. He kept himself in great shape and just was always a grinder. Really quiet guy, but, he's the Magic Man. Everybody loves Datsyuk. If I ever need to pick me up, I watch Datsyuk highlights and I watch Patrick Kane highlights, and that's all I need. It's the greatest thing in the world. So that brings us to something that I'm not proud of doing, but I gotta get it out. I'm just gonna rant on the Boston Bruins until I don't want to anymore. So let's paint a picture. You have two of the best goalies in the NHL. You have Vezina winner Linus Ullmark, and then you have young stud Jeremy Swayman. Okay. You are sitting in a playoff spot. You need some help. You need some depth. And you know that you're going to have to get rid of one of these guys because you got to pay Sway. So you either pay Sway and trade Ullmark, or you trade Sway and you keep Ullmark. And then they decided not to trade him at the deadline, where you can get the most. Well, I mean, I guess he decided he didn't want to get traded. We had a trade in place with LA. That's fine. Thank you, Don. You did your work. But to hold out for a first-round pick, 25th pick, and Mark Kestelik, I don't even know who the fuck that is. And for me to not know who you are, can't be good. For Ullmark, that's it. Oh, and Korpisalo, who gets paid $4 million. They retain 25%. So you get Korpisalo at $3 million a year. So your cap space goes from, it could have just been like $25 million in free agency, where you can fit in, a top six winger, which you need, and then you settle for Korpisalo. So now you have a set backup, and you have Brandon Bussey, okay, one of the best AHL goalies from the last couple of years, sitting in the AHL, waiting for a chance. And they say, fuck you, and they don't give him a chance. They bring in Korpisalo, $3 million. Nobody wants to trade for that contract, but we did, I guess. So you waste Ullmark as an asset, and then you go into the draft, you don't trade the pick. Everybody was talking about Nekis. You don't trade for him, which we need a center, so that would have worked out. We still need a winger, because that never got addressed. So I'd love to keep an eye out on that, but there's $11 million left. Swayman reportedly wants like $8 million, 8 to 10. He's probably going to get 8, because no way we're paying a goalie $10 million. That's fucking ridiculous. So he's going to end up with 8. And then we'll have like $3 million to work with, and then at that point, by the time we have money, we're gonna spend it on some dude who's washed up and plug him into a top 6 role, and then it's not gonna work, just like it never works. It's the old Brian Giunta rule. It's fucking Drew Stafford. It's all these playoff runs where instead of getting an actual guy, you just get this like depth board that you just plug in and then say it's gonna work. Like Rick Nash when we traded the first rounder and Ryan Lindgren, fucking he did nothing when he came over. He was a complete loser. So, I guess I'm just pissed at asset allocation. Getting Elias Lindholm for 7 years, 7.75. It's an overpay. I think everybody knew it was an overpay. We knew it was going to be an overpay. With the way that the regular season went last year, I mean, he picked it up in the playoffs, which is fine. He did not play well when he moved over to Vancouver, which it scares the shit out of me. I mean, he's 2 years removed from a point-per-game season, 2021-22, but he had 82 points, 82 games, 42 goals, 40 assists. But you're playing with a prime Johnny Gaudreau, who then fucked off that offseason, and then Matthew Tkachuk fucked off as well to Florida. And then the next year, you drop down. You have a whole season in Calgary, 80 games played, 64 points. So, 18-point drop-off, not that bad. And then you play 65 games, and then you end up with 44 points. So we just gave a guy who's got 44 points in 66 games 7.75 mil. I would have rather traded 2 first-round picks and Lysell for Necas and just throw another check in the mix, have him center Zacha and Pasta, and just let them go nuts. Countrymen love each other. Let them go crazy. Dean Letourneau, which was the 25th pick that we used, 6'7", like Tage Thompson comp. That's great if it works, but with the Bruins' track record of drafting, I would rather have a roster player now than have the prospect of you picking somebody. Our drafts aren't great historically. Our prospect pool is garbage. I mean, we're lucky that Lohrei came through the way he did, and Patra worked out as well as he has. And then now, we have Charlie Coyle making $5 million, and I mean, if you want to still leave Zacha at center, you would have either Zacha, Lindholm, Coyle, Beecher, or you move Zacha to the wing, and then you have Lindholm, Coyle, Patra, Beecher. And Charlie Coyle makes $5 million. I'm sure if we trade him and an asset to a team, we can actually get a top 6 forward, then slide Patra up in the lineup and then keep Zacha as a center. I would rather do that. I'd rather have Zacha as a second line center and get then we trade, then we have cap space. That $5 million that Charlie Coyle's making, we trade him and then we bring in fucking Marchessault. Marchessault sides 5x5. If we trade Coyle and then pitch Marchessault to be on this team, you get to play with fucking Brad Marchand or you get to play with David Pastrnak. And then you have Lindholm, Pasta, Marshy, and then the second line's fucking. But that's how bad that the asset allocation is. We don't even have enough top 6 forwards to make it work. The battery died in my camera, so we're just gonna pick off where we left off. Nikita Zadorov, 6x5, and a defenseman who's willing to wear the number 91. That's a big no-no in my book. You gotta be a center, you gotta be a stud. If you want to wear 91, you can't be a fucking big, dumb defenseman. 19 points on the season. Actually, I'm wrong. 20 points on the season. Forced his way out of Calgary after, speaking for the whole team like he was the captain, even though he didn't even wear a letter. Nobody really liked that, so he lost the locker room, and then they traded him to Vancouver. Big part of Vancouver's success, at least. He's a big body, solid defenseman, bit of an asshole to play against. He is the prototypical Bruin. I think $5 million a year for 6 years is definitely an overpay, but I think it helps the Bruins' decor is nasty. You've got Brandon Carlo, Hampus Lindholm, Charlie McAvoy, Mason Lohrei, Andrew Peeke. and those are like the 7 that we're going to run with all year. I'd count that as a win. I like that a lot. I just don't like the term. I feel like by the time it hits, 2028, I'm probably going to be banging my head against a wall asking why we signed him to that deal. But just big physical defensemen don't age well. So we'll see how that goes, I guess. Again, not many options on the table, but I guess it's better than nothing, which we probably would have ended up with nothing in that case. So I'm going to have to deal with that. The rest of the signings, we got fucking Riley Tufte. I don't know. Max Jones, a failed 2016 first round pick. The Bruins know a thing or two about 2016 first round pick failures. Riley Tufte is a big 6'6" winger. So there's that. And Max Jones, another 2016 failed first round pick. And he's a bottom, 6 guy. Can kind of chip in 15 points, 52 games, 23, 24. So I guess that's good. I don't know, 4th line option. It's certainly better than Patrick Brown, so I'll take it. A little sad that Lauko's gone, but we used that pick to draft a kid that Tuck knows, and hopefully he'll be on this podcast soon. So shout out to you, Lauko. Your failure is my success, and I hope you're going to be eating grapes in Minnesota. And I hope that they're as good as Boston's grapes, I guess. I don't really know. So that leads us off to the end of the episode. I would like to leave you guys with some words of wisdom from some things that I've learned over the last couple of weeks. If you care about any piece of clothing or apparel, I guess, and you have a dog that's like, from puppy to like 3 years old, don't leave it around. That's how you get, chewed up hats. My lovely dog Tucker has probably claimed maybe 10 of my hats at this point, and you'd think, I'd fucking take them off the counter or move them away from where he can get them, but no. You know why? Because why does he want to ruin my life? That's on me for thinking my dog gives a fuck about what I like, He just finds a way. Anytime I like a hat, he jumps up, he chews the tabs, and I can't wear it anymore. And I don't know how to fucking sew. So I'm fucked. Now I gotta go spend another $50 on a hat that I don't want to spend $50 on a hat on. So fuck you, Tucker. The new car theory. Anytime that you buy a new car, the next couple of days, you should be like extra cautious because the likelihood of you getting your car smashed is exponentially higher. I bought a new car, a new lease on Friday, and I got it to 112 miles before someone smashed into it. So just be extra careful when you buy a new car. And lastly, charcoal grills. I don't understand it. I'm trying to figure it out myself. I don't like the taste of char. It just makes everything taste smoky and shitty. Not in a good way. You know what I mean? Like smoky is good, but not char smoky. I don't know if it's a me issue. I, start the grill. I throw the shit in. I let it go. Never really works. I put the fucking lid on it. Once I put the meat on, the char dies. Then I gotta fucking take it all out. Then I cook it in the pan, but it already tastes like shit because I tried to cook it on the char. I don't know. I think that we should all just move on and just become griddle people for the rest of time. Griddles are better than grills in all capacities. So there's that. What else? If you want something done, you gotta do it yourself. Nobody's gonna get this far, so Mike and Dakota, thanks for making my beat. Just fucking kidding. I need a new intro beat, so if you make it this far and you're listening, please fucking make me a beat so I don't have to kill myself anymore. What else? That's all I got. Don't overpay for free agents. win the Stanley Cup for your fan base. I was very jealous watching the Celtics win the championship. I mean, basketball's fine. I don't really give a fuck either way. The Celtics are probably like, they could probably go toe to toe with like some of the best teams of all time, but it's a little. Their road to the championship was a little boring, like not enough friction, so that wasn't very exciting. The parade. I'm a bit confused about why people go to the parade, because like if they no longer do speeches at the end, like Boston didn't do any speeches at the end of the parade, if they're not going to talk to the fans, like I'm not really sure why you need to go. Because like, if I wanted to get a video of like Jason Tatum on a duck boat, I just go on Instagram and just watch him on the duck boat and like go through the whole thing. I wouldn't drive to Boston and then be in like 70,000 people of traffic, and it's just so I could watch this dude hold a trophy and just like drive by. And it's a new trophy. Like it's not like, if it was the Stanley Cup, it's one thing. Like that trophy's been handed out for like 100 years, but they make a new Larry O'Brien trophy like literally every year. So it's not even like it's cool. Like they make like 6 of them for each franchise, so you can bring them to things. So not the biggest fan of that. Recording the parades, like I probably saw 6 of the same videos, because everybody's like, oh shit, look at this, but like we're all looking at the same thing. Like if you and your friend are both at the parade and you record Jaylen Brown on the duck boat like going by, I just saw the same video twice on 2 different Instagram stories, Snapchat stories, wherever the fuck you want to post on. I just saw it twice just because you're like, oh my god, it's him. You see that ant on the fucking, he's holding up the goal. Nobody cares. If you're not physically there, nobody cares. And I don't even think the players really care. I've seen a lot of complaining about getting beer cans thrown at you, which is pretty pussy. But I guess if you were getting pegged with like full Bud Lights, that would probably be a little scary. Definitely not like kid friendly. So Deuce is just like ducking, hiding for cover as the duck boat's getting pelted with 30 Bud Heavies. So that's probably tough. But shout out the Celtics. Shout out the Panthers. Shout out Spain in the Euros. We're cooking. Shout out Lamine Yamal. Shout out Team USA in the Copa for shit in the bed again. And who's my final shout out? Shout out Jeremy Roenick. Congrats. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. That's it for me. I think I'm going to do 2 a week. I think I'm going to do Wednesdays and Fridays. So Friday's episode, I'm just going to go through all of the transactions. So free agency signings, outlooks on that. Pretty much all the big names. The deep dives will come in August. 32 days before the season starts, I'm going to do 1 team a day for season previews. So I'll have like 32 mini episodes coming out. So stay tuned for that. So I'll be doing normal episodes with mini-sodes. I hope to have Mike and Jared come on at some point, and hopefully we can get this Bruins prospect to come on. I think I have another interview lined up with a guy who plays in the ECHL and played at Nebraska with Jake Gensel. Jake Gensel in Tampa. Ew. Stamkos over Gensel any day. And I think I'm done for real this time. So I will see you guys on Friday. Thanks.